is we actually have like a reasonably light agenda. So we shouldn't have to go super long. I think we're all getting sick of Zoom meetings, that's for sure. Not that I would want to, as much as I like all of you in person, sit in City Hall for 3 hours tonight either, but you know, either way. So we'll do the roll call. I'll call the meeting to order. We've got Executive Director Cher Vickers. We've got Board Member Adam Pollock. We've got Board Secretary Chrissy Amato. We've got our counsel Bob McLaughlin. We've got my esteemed Vice Chair Nancy Thomas. The best board treasurer ever, Marlon Ramos. Plain old uninteresting board member Mike Kelly. And thank you for joining us, taking an interest, Mary Ann. We appreciate you joining as a guest.
Thank you.
No problem. We have in the Dropbox that was shared the proof of the notice of the meeting. And before we go into the agenda proper, we're going to go into an executive session to discuss proposed pending or current litigation. So I'll take a motion to go into executive session. Mary Ann, what that means on Zoom is you're going to be put in the waiting room while we talk, but the virtual waiting room, and then we'll bring you back in when we're done, okay?
Understood. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Take a motion.
I move that we go into an executive session.
Thank you, Nancy. Do I have a second?
I second.
Marlon got you first. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed or abstaining, motion carried.
Yeah.
And we're going to stop recording, right? I think that's how it works.
And Michelle, who's now in our office, is attending as well. Okay.
All right, we're out of executive session. No decisions have been made. No vote was taken in executive. We have in our board packet the approval of the minutes from our prior meeting. I will take a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Do I have a second by Nancy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining, motion carried. Report of the treasurer, Marlon.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so this is for today's meeting. Okay, so as of December 1st, we had an opening balance of $325,108.05. We had a total deposit amount of $81,381.44. Okay, we paid out a total amount of $29,456.59. Let's see, ending the balance for the month of December at $377,000 with $32.90. The closing balance of the application fund and opening balance staying the same. The Lester tenant account staying the same, opening and closing. And we have a money market account that increased by $63.74 to the amount of $750,583 with 42 cents. That's the report.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I move to accept the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Gregory.
I'll second.
Second by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion carried. Do I have a motion to pay the bills as listed?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
I second.
Thank you, Gregory. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, motion carried. Let me open the agenda back up. Chairman's report, the CDAC update. Since our last meeting, I think we settled on a finalist for the Montgomery Street project, and that is going to be presented to the City Council. I believe it's a February 10th meeting. I think it's public. It's the Carney Developer Group, they're awarded a second project in addition to the Colton Street project. The mixed use, I can't remember exactly how much square feet. I think 5,000, something like that, square feet of commercial space, and then 70 something residential units with a mix of market rate and affordable or income-based housing. So that's really all that's going on with CDAC at the moment. As with, I think I say it every month, we're still looking for more members for that, just like every other board in the city. In this part. Council's report, Bob.
So just 3 items tonight. I mentioned at the last meeting, Senate Bill A 795 regarding fees and the adoption of the fees of the county that had passed the legislature, delivered to the governor. The governor vetoed that. So for now, we can charge different fees than the county IDA. So that was an unexpected surprise and pleasure, I hope. Scobie Drive, we did finally hear from DEC. DEC expects to have their complete site characterization, including where and what levels PFAS is at the site. They said to us they expected that to be completed in the spring, at which point the purchaser will need to enter into an amended brownfield cleanup agreement with DEC, which is what they've been waiting for and waiting to do. So the question is, do we amend the contract now because the 2-year schedule attached to the initial contract 2 years ago is obviously out of date? Or do we just wait until that DEC memo is done? I think we wait until we have some facts. And what I will do is send an email to the purchasers council to make sure that they're still interested in the property, to notify them of the information that we've received from DEC, and that we expect that once that DEC investigation is complete sometime in the spring, we will amend the contract, and they will then in turn enter into the brownfield cleanup agreement or an amendment to the existing brownfield cleanup agreement. But I don't think it makes any sense to spin our wheels and do that contract amendment right now because we're in a holding pattern.
Yeah, that was the analogy I was going to use, spinning our wheels if we did that.
Yep. And then finally, 104 Washington with Philippe. I've asked Michelle Ryder, their counsel, to confirm whether or not they're proceeding with that project this month. Obviously, we're running out of time, so I think it's more likely a February close. He apparently went out of country again, the last that she heard, so I'm waiting for her to get back to me, but we may get that done within the next couple of weeks. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Executive Director's report, Chair.
Yeah, I don't have anything new. I mean, I was out sick for a couple of weeks, but just in office, we're preparing for our Paris reporting that we do every year. I would be reaching out to the Audit Finance Committees. I guess maybe maybe I'll reach out to you tomorrow. I'm trying to confirm a date that we can review the UTEP, because although we've readopted all of our policies, we're still missing the UTEP policy. So the way that I'm thinking is going to work is that the Audit Finance Committee will meet, make some recommendations, and then we'll have something to send to the entire board for readoption for 2022. That's it.
Great, thank you, Chair. New business, vacant property insurance. Chair, I assume this is you.
Yes, so I just wanted to get a quote because we do not have insurance on Scobie Drive and the West Street property, which are the two largest properties that this IDA owns. It's a very difficult thing to do to get insurance on property that has no structure on it. But it's something that has been discussed at the IDA for many years, especially I think at the Scobie Drive property. Any potential risk that might be associated with that. So I have secured a quote, and also the West Street property is on West Street, like it's on a sidewalk. The other ones are kind of, in the back. Who would even know where exactly our property lines are there? But if the board is interested in securing vacant property insurance for that project, we do have a quote that is in the amount of $1,000, $1,128.28. That would be for both Scobie and the West Street property. I mean, I could defer to Bob. I don't know if other IDAs or what your recommendation would be, if this is something that the IDA would need. There are no structures on those properties. The only issue with the Scobie Drive property is that there were trees that were taken down, and it created these wood piles that are probably about, 12, 15 feet tall. I mean, tall, taller than a person. And so, the previous board was worried that some kids would go there, climb the pile, fall down. That's the only structure that we have there. So, I just wanted to put this out there. If it's something you're interested in, fine. If not, fine. But I at least want to.
Is this
Bob,
a
is there any reason that we shouldn't do that?
Sorry.
Well, how much is that? $1,000 a year?
$1,000.
Yeah. Okay. And well, I'll talk to you after about coverage, but I think, yeah, it's probably a pretty good idea.
The quote here is $1,000. It looks like for $1 million personal injury, and $1 million for each occurrence. Damage to the property, $100,000. It seems pretty inexpensive insurance for peace of mind for anyone
Yep.
that came on for slip and fall. I always recommend to IDAs that they have insurance on any property they own. So whether it's vacant land or not, even a minimal coverage, I would always recommend at least $1 million, because as Austin knows, when there's a slip and fall, most attorneys just say that, the damage is $1 million. It's a nice round number to get people's attention and to get into a higher court than a county or a lower court. So, it seems to be a no-brainer, but.
All right, with our procurement policy, do we need to vote on this, or can Chair just go and get it?
I would have to, I think you can do either. I think under your property ownership, you need to have insurance, but you could certainly just vote on it as an expenditure tonight.
I'll take a motion for Chair to buy the insurance.
I'll make a motion to buy raw property, land, or insurance for both
Thank you,
of those
Chris.
locations.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Gregory. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining, motion carried. Labor policy.
So that local labor policy did come up from Senator Skoufis, I believe, and many communities around the state, including most IDAs in Orange County, do have a local labor policy. I think we touched on this pre-COVID at one point, and then we kind of dropped it. And then I think we referenced it during one meeting at some point last year. But I thought it would be a good opportunity. I drafted up a policy that tracks essentially with what's being done in other Orange County IDAs. The board should review it, think about it, consider adoption at the next meeting. If you adopt it before any approval of any other project, it would be effective for that project. It's not what's in effect at the time of project approval, not a project application. So, it's pretty self-explanatory. There are exceptions. What other IDAs have done is get a monitor, a consultant, to help them review what is being done by way of construction, what local jobs are being done, and what is being utilized and how they are advertising, and then asking the developer to pay those costs on an ongoing basis. And typically you set up an escrow account and fund that at closing, and then the consultant just sends the bill in, and the IDA pays the bill from that project, from that fund.
Okay, so we have a copy of that in the Dropbox that we can review.
Yep.
And discuss at the next
And
meeting.
if any member has questions, between now and the next meeting, feel free to, reach out to Cher or to me, and if you want, you can certainly give it to one of the committees to debate,
Yeah.
which probably is a good idea.
Yeah, maybe we can have like a governance committee meeting on it, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you. Old business. Readoption of the mission statement for 2022. We're just, the mission statement as it currently stands, we're just readopting it. We didn't do that last month.
So I just noticed that in the resolution, it was absent. So we're just buttoning,
yeah.
we're just buttoning it up. You guys, nothing has changed. It's just, yeah.
That answered my question. That's why I thought we talked about it. So I'll take a motion to adopt resolution 2022-01-26-01, which just readopts our mission statement as currently written.
I will make a motion to readopt the mission statement as currently read.
Thank you, Chrissy. Have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Gregory. We'll do a roll call.
Austin Du Bois,
Yes.
Nancy Thomas,
Yes.
Adam Pollock,
Yes.
Marlon Ramos,
Yes.
Christina Amato,
Yes.
Michael Kelly,
Yes.
Gregory Nato.
Yes.
Motion carried. Gregory's dog is
And the dog too.
warning him about someone walking on the street outside like my dog does, even though we live in a city and someone's always walking on the street. Okay. Next up, FHS Hotel at Newburgh, the Grand Street project, the Sims Foster project. So you should have all gotten this summary of the comments from the two public hearings that we had, as well as written comments that we received. So we can talk about the comments that we think are the most relevant. The sort of three major kind of categories that congealed around was, number one, the reasonableness of the pilot requests. Number two, whether we should form a subcommittee or whether we should, I think it's whether we should form a subcommittee, because I think we all sort of are agreed, I guess we can talk about it, but that we should get in detail what the developer is promising as far as the types of jobs, how many are going to be local, what his workforce development initiatives are going to be with local organizations and things like that. I mean, off the bat, I can say I think we should do a subcommittee and discuss that with him before approval. And then lastly, one of the claims that was made and that was supported with the study that we had done is that without financing from the bank, that the project can't happen, and then that the project essentially can't be financed without the pilot that's being requested. We don't have any sort of letter or something similar from the bank itself reflecting that. So unless anybody has any objections there, I think we should have a discussion with the developer and potentially the bank to see, where the bank's at on that, what would make sense there. I don't know if it's possible, but I think we should investigate it. What does everybody think? I think if anybody has any kind of objections to those last two, I think those are reasonable paths forward. Anything to add to that? As far as the first one, the reasonableness of the pilot, I'm open to hear what people have to say.
Austin, I'd like to just say that in addition to the jobs which we may be covering in our determination of what we're requiring for local jobs, the statement had been made about training the job force here. And so my question is, I'd like to find out if he's been in touch with the community college, because, these were supposed to be hospitality jobs, we
Right.
need to find that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Knowing how difficult it is to, get these things firmed up ahead of time before there's actually a workplace in place. I would like to see some sort of percentage commitment of the workforce that will be local, that we can all agree upon, and then some sort of letter of intent between the foster group and a local college, whether it's right around the corner or somewhere else. I think that would, put a lot of stress at ease.
Sure.
Yeah, those are all exactly in line to what I'm thinking and what I would emphasize.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any? I will say, I mean, as far as the first one, I think we should talk a little bit about the reasonableness of the request. I mean, we did obviously hire MRB Group to do a study on this, and that's what they professionally do. They seem to think it was well within not only reasonableness or reasonable request, but also it would be necessary to have for the project to have a fighting chance as far as being successful. I note that a lot of community members, a lot of elected officials also thought it was a good deal. Obviously, there were some people that weren't sure that it was a good deal. Candidly, I don't recall any commentary or information from anybody that showed what would be more reasonable or had an alternative suggestion. But does anybody else have any thoughts as far as the level of the ask, the reasonableness of the ask?
I just want to say that on the last, I'm sorry, I'm running out of words here, but when the community came out, spoke,
Public
and we
hearing.
had the public hearing.
Okay.
I think there was a lot of questions that were answered and a lot of information that was provided. That was beneficial to clearing out a lot of confusion, maybe. So, yeah, based on that information, I don't have anything else that I would want to weigh the reasonableness of this project, given that we even had the other agency do the work and do the presentation for us, and I think that it was informative for everybody. And yeah, no, I don't have anything else to add to that part of the discussion.
Thank you, Marla.
I mean, I just bring up that I think a huge part of the conversation is regarding you all considering the reasonableness of the pilot is that it's being compared to 485B, which we've all kind of don't want to talk about anymore. But if you all agree that it's reasonable, even though it's being compared to a 485B, the ask would be very different. The numbers have been played around a bit as far as how it could be somehow a different scenario. And so I would just want to make sure that you all are okay with the exemption and the increments that have been presented in the amended ask, because we also should remember that this is an amended ask after our test of reasonableness that was done. We secured a different pilot arrangement here. So how you
I think having the input, sorry, again, the delay is killing me. I apologize. I think having the input from the city manager explaining 485B to us during our last public hearing was incredibly helpful and demonstrated why, an applicant would go one route or the other. I also think having that report from the MRB group kind of clearly spelled out why, they're asking for what they're asking for, and demonstrated, at least to me, that it makes perfect sense. And I hope that we walk away from this applicant in the future looking back and saying, this is how an application should progress with this sort of level of scrutiny and also efficiency.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add is, we talk about these three different things almost as if they're separate, but like the first two are actually kind of intimately related, right? I mean, we're kind of going, I know at least throughout this process, when we first talked about or presented with this project, one of the first things that was said about how there was going to be a commitment to hiring local, a commitment to workforce development and things like that. And that's the sort of thing that, look, the numbers from the MRB group, of course, are compelling, but if they didn't have along with it the fact that not only that the developer is looking to do all these beneficial things for the city, and the fact that we're going to have that as part of the agreement, we might have a different opinion. So, if we were to go meet with him, and for whatever reason, obviously he's been consistent with the promises so far, and we'll have that be part of the agreement. If we were to go to him and all of a sudden, for some reason, he wasn't interested in helping out the community, we would say, well, maybe they're not so reasonable anymore, but they are interrelated, right? I mean, the numbers look good on their own, but when we have that piece of it that makes sure that he's obligated to do what he's promised, then that makes the whole situation, really a win-win for everybody.
So in this process, and I've spoken to other board members of other boards, a lot of things can kind of get conflated, and understandably with perception of what's happening. We are IDA board members. We have a certain charge and a certain mandate that we may have opinion about other things relative to the project, but we are primarily charged with creating jobs, with creating benefit for the community, we have these benefits to be able to give in exchange for those things, and we have a process that we have to follow in order to do that. And I think there's maybe a lot of things relative to this project, community-wise, that people are taking into consideration. But as far as the IDA and as far as their application to us, as has been mentioned in the past, this is what we are and the IDA is set up for. I think the city is incredibly lucky to have this opportunity to be able to help developers who can create community benefit, not only in local jobs, but also in commercial tax rateables, and taking abandoned buildings off of the abandoned list and making them productive and hopefully long-term productivity. I think the developer was very reasonable in their ask. They didn't come and ask for a blanket pilot for 40 years for no taxes at all. We are here and are helping them to get a leg up so that they can become productive members of the tax roll and of the commercial community and of the rest of the community in sort of a viable perpetuity. And I think that that's hopefully what we are able to do here.
Great.
within our within our lane.
Okay, great. All right, I mean, we don't have any action item on this for today, but so what we'll do is Cher can get in touch with us, everybody, to see who wants to be on this, I don't know, jobs or workforce or community benefit subcommittee. Obviously, I'd like to be a part of that. So whoever wants to join me on that, so we can talk to Sims and his team about that. We'll talk to him as well about the bank letter scenario, and we'll discuss our findings at our next meeting. So I will take, if anybody else has anything burning, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Nancy. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. Sorry, Marlon, were you reaching to the second? It's okay, you can vote aye now. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining. Have a great evening. Thank you all.
Good night.
Night.